Did Gypsy Rose just break one of her parole conditions? So Gypsy and Ken were seen at an establishment where they sell adult beverages. And this isn't the first time we've seen her in pictures around these kinds of drinks.
Okay, so I gotta show you guys something. And one of two things. Either the PO is just letting her slide, or she just really freaking messed up.
You got the tail. Open the tail up a little bit and grab and just skin the head off.
Twist.
Gypsy Rose reaches out to one of her ex-prison mates, which is against her parole. This is a direct violation, but she does it through social media. And what she says to her is that, I don't want to be your friend anymore, and you're just upset because I blew up and you didn't. She blew up as a murderer and nothing more. She is not famous. She's infamous. And she's infamous for being a murderer and for taking an autistic, mentally handicapped young boy and getting him involved in this situation. I don't think she realizes the trauma she's going to have for her child. There is no way around it. She cannot shelter this child from finding out what she has done. And unless she full out lies and this child believes her, at some point this child's going to read and be able to find all the information on their own. And they're going to have feelings about this, and they're going to get teased and they're going to get picked on, and it's not going to go well for her. So I don't think she's thinking all this through, but she needs to be a nicer person. This is not going to bode well for her at all. Tell me what you think.
Essentially, our baby will have two nurseries because I can't live with Ken. I'm on parole. I could spend 2 days a week at Ken's apartment. So essentially the baby will have a nursery here and the baby will have a nursery there. When do I plan on moving out? As soon as I'm off parole. So June, I think the end of my parole is June 25th of next year. So Ken and I could look for an apartment together. We could look for a house together. I don't know what the future holds with that, but, I'm not going to live at home forever. So why can't he move in with me? That would be a little weird. No, Ken has his apartment. That'd be very weird for, I'm 33 living.
This is the first time I have seen somebody point this out. And I was thinking the exact same thing because whenever you see anybody that's on parole, they have to be actively looking for a job or getting a job. But I have heard some places say that she had special circumstances. And I don't know if maybe it's because she does have the trust that her parents put her money into that she got from the reality show and her book deal. Or if it's just because she has circumstances that she can't be with the general public, or maybe it's because she is a felon. But regardless, they are not treating her the same. And that's the point that people are trying to make by calling her parole officer, is that they're not treating her the same way that they would treat anyone else. They told her to get off social media. They suggested for her to get off social media. And what did she go ahead and do? Nothing. She stayed on social media, and instead of her bullying people, her mom started bullying people. And we don't even know if that's her mom. What if she has her mom's phone?
Gypsy Rose Blanchard, the name that once shook the world with its connection to one of the most chilling true crime cases, is back in the spotlight. Gypsy, infamous for orchestrating the death of her mother, Dee Dee Blanchard, is now making waves for her troubling post-prison behavior. Since her release on parole, she's been walking a precarious tightrope, teetering between freedom and a return to custody. Yet somehow, she has managed to sidestep any serious consequences. How does she do it? Is it sheer luck, a lenient parole officer, or her uncanny ability to weave convincing explanations? Let's unravel the layers of her controversial story. The latest uproar stems from a seemingly innocent photograph taken last Thanksgiving. The image, shared online, shows Gypsy with her partner Ken at what appears to be a cozy date night. The couple is seen smiling warmly at a dinner table, but one small detail quickly caught attention: a nearly empty wine glass sitting next to Ken. For most people, this wouldn't raise an eyebrow, but for Gypsy, it's a direct red flag. Parole conditions for individuals like Gypsy often include strict rules, one of which is to abstain from alcohol or even being in environments where alcohol is present. By attending a dinner where Ken had clearly been drinking, Gypsy knowingly stepped into forbidden territory, openly defying the terms of her parole. This isn't the first time her behavior has sparked outrage. Over the past year, Gypsy has reportedly violated parole conditions on multiple occasions, raising questions about whether her actions are being overlooked or excused. Critics have pointed fingers at her parole officer, accusing them of being too lenient. Others speculate that Gypsy's tragic backstory and her skill at crafting sympathetic narratives might be helping her avoid stricter consequences. The public, however, isn't convinced. Social media erupted in debates, with many expressing disbelief at how Gypsy has managed to stay out of custody despite her repeated missteps. For some, her actions are a betrayal of the second chance she was given. For others, it's a stark reminder of the complexity of her case. Someone who is both a victim and a perpetrator, now trying to navigate life beyond prison walls. But what do you think? Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below.
People are finding out who you really are, and that you're extremely good at wearing masks and pretending to be something that you're not.
Gypsy's actions are once again under the microscope, and this latest incident has left many shaking their heads. Not only does it highlight a blatant violation of her parole conditions, but it also raises serious concerns about her ongoing defiance of the rules meant to regulate her behavior. This isn't the first time Gypsy has stirred controversy. Just last year, a photo surfaced showing her father, Ken, enjoying a meal at a seafood restaurant. While Gypsy herself wasn't visible in the picture, sharp-eyed critics speculated she was the one behind the camera. The restaurant scene, complete with alcohol on the table, sparked heated debate and public outcry, as many believed her presence there violated the strict terms of her parole.
Okay, so I gotta show you guys something. And one of two things. Either the PO is just letting her slide, or she just really freaking messed up.
We got the tail. Open the tail up on the boot and grab and just skin the head off.
Twist. There you go. Take this off.
You cannot be around alcohol. Period. You cannot be in an establishment that sells alcohol of any kind. Doesn't matter if it's a restaurant. Doesn't matter if it's a bar. You cannot be around people drinking. It's a big no-no. Most of the time, it is don't ask, don't tell kind of stuff, but you're publicly putting it online that you're around alcohol. I know for me, I was no longer even on supervision. And the POs, when I had a meeting with them, was like, remember that picture you posted from last year in November? You know, the one with you and the pew-pews? And I couldn't for the life of me understand what he was even talking about. And it was from my family shooting skeet. And they still addressed that. And he said, had I been on supervision, still, when he found that, I would have been charged. This is actually breaking parole. You got a crappy PR team.
Gypsy's Thanksgiving photo is far more than just a festive snapshot. It's a bombshell that's ignited a storm of controversy. Captured in an environment that blatantly violated her parole terms, the image is undeniable proof of a choice that raises serious questions about her actions and accountability. How is she repeatedly navigating these legal gray areas without facing immediate repercussions? This isn't an isolated incident either. Gypsy's behavior reveals a troubling pattern of testing boundaries, almost as if she's daring the system to catch her. By appearing knowingly in a setting where alcohol was consumed and allowing those moments to be documented, she's pushing the limits of her parole. It's a risky game, and one that could have serious consequences. But the real mystery here isn't just Gypsy's bold defiance, it's the lack of oversight. Are her parole officers fully aware of these violations, or has Gypsy managed to explain them away with a carefully crafted narrative? If these actions have gone unnoticed or unpunished, it raises critical questions about the effectiveness of her supervision. Her choices don't just risk further legal trouble, they undermine the fragile public support she may still have. Each incident paints a picture of someone who doesn't fully grasp the importance of accountability. Worse, it casts a shadow over her ability to rebuild trust in the eyes of the public and the justice system. What's happening with Gypsy is more than a personal misstep. It's a reflection of a larger issue. How is someone in her position allowed to repeatedly push these boundaries without facing meaningful consequences? And what kind of precedent does that set for others in similar circumstances?
Gypsy and Ken were seen at an establishment where they sell adult beverages. And this isn't the first time we've seen her in pictures around these kinds of drinks. So the answer is maybe. It depends on the type of establishment. There's a difference between a bar and a tavern, or a restaurant that just happens to sell adult beverages. Also, does her parole have any specific conditions around consuming or being at these types of places? Often there are such conditions, but not always. Given that her case is not drink related, it's possible it's not an issue here. There's no clear indication that she's drinking, and the glass is clearly on Ken's side. Also, she may be filming for the show, her gainful employment, the parole has deemed acceptable. And her parole officer may have made exceptions for her being at this type of place, even if there are such restrictions.
Her activities have sparked outrage, with many accusing her of blatantly disregarding the rules designed to keep her in check. This blatant defiance has left people questioning whether her parole conditions are being strictly enforced or if there are loopholes in the system that allow her behavior to slip through the cracks. Adding fuel to the fire is her controversial presence on social media. Initially, she was permitted to maintain online accounts, but only under strict guidelines. These were supposed to be used solely to promote her memoir and the hit reality series Life After Lockup. However, she was explicitly barred from using these platforms for personal reasons. Now, critics are pointing to alleged activity that seems to blur the lines of these restrictions, raising even more eyebrows.
Her newfound social media fame is next level.
I don't even comprehend it at this point because for me, I'm just another face in the crowd. So when I came out of prison, I didn't expect this giant wave of social media. You know, I'm posting selfies just like the next person would or the next person, not thinking anything of it. And before I know it, it has 2 million views. I'm just like...
Gypsy's latest online antics have fans questioning whether she's truly stepping back for her family or cleverly staying in the spotlight. Her ability to stir controversy while maintaining a magnetic online presence has everyone talking. From bending boundaries to reclaiming her account, Gypsy's moves have left a trail of skepticism and drama that's impossible to ignore. It all began when Gypsy found creative ways to work around strict restrictions placed on her. Enlisting her partner Ken and close friend Bree, she shared personal photos and private messages, including baby shower pictures and intimate conversations. These actions blatantly bypass the rules, highlighting Gypsy's determination to keep her public persona alive, even when the odds were stacked against her. The drama escalated when Gypsy claimed her account had been hacked. She announced she was stepping back from social media, explaining her decision as a way to focus on her family and her newborn child. The announcement seemed genuine, and fans were quick to support her. But the narrative took a sharp turn when Gypsy regained control of her account. Contrary to her earlier promises, she jumped right back into sharing personal content, from live streams addressing critiques to updates that had nothing to do with her supposed retreat. Gypsy's actions completely contradicted her initial statement. The abrupt change fueled speculation about her true intentions, with many questioning whether her break was ever real or simply a calculated move to generate buzz. Gypsy's every step continues to spark debate. Is she prioritizing her family, or is she using the narrative of privacy to stay relevant?
What's going on with Gypsy? I watched the podcast, and I'm sure I'll probably have more thoughts as we go along, but definitely one that stuck out is the fact that she talks about wanting to protect her child from, like, the media. And my thing is that if I really wanted to do that, I would go off the grid. But she wants to stay relevant and in the media space. She likes the attention and the fame. Why? Because generational curse. The sins of the father. In this case, the mother. She manipulates and lies, just like her mom, to have income. And I got this really strange feeling as we continue to watch this messy, horrific journey that she'll probably end up using her baby to make money. I mean, she's kind of already doing that now.
Gypsy's dramatic fall from grace hit a new low as her claims of going off the grid unraveled in the most ironic way possible. While she publicly announced her digital detox, she quietly joined Red Note, a TikTok alternative, during the brief frenzy over TikTok's potential U.S. ban. This move didn't go unnoticed and sparked questions about her true intentions. Once hailed as a social media powerhouse with a staggering 9.7 million TikTok followers, Gypsy's Red Note account barely scratched the surface with only 421 followers. The numbers speak volumes, highlighting her waning influence and raising eyebrows among fans who once idolized her. For many, this stark decline symbolized more than just a shift in platforms. It was a clear sign of growing disillusionment and skepticism about her authenticity.
Now, initially, when I saw her say that she was going over to that app, it made me laugh because someone sent me the screenshot and all I could do was chuckle, simply because we all know how actually anyone outside of the U.S., well, Americans do respect their parents, most of them, but overseas, like, your mom is the glue that holds the family together. Like, moms are valued beyond measure, respected. Like, moms are just everything. It ends and starts at mom. And for you to get on a Chinese app knowing you had your mom unalived is wild.
Her inability to silence critics or regain public trust has highlighted deeper struggles, casting long shadows over her once sympathetic narrative of reform. At the height of her infamy, Gypsy captured the world's sympathy as a victim who endured unimaginable torment. Yet, as she stepped into the spotlight to reclaim her story, cracks began to show. Her repeated efforts to reshape public opinion have not only failed but backfired spectacularly, turning former supporters into skeptics. The online community has been buzzing with commentary, and creators like KS and Perez Hilton have been at the forefront of dissecting Gypsy's actions. KS, in particular, has spotlighted troubling inconsistencies in her memoir, calling attention to her attempts to present herself as entirely blameless. These claims have fueled public suspicion, with many now viewing her narrative as a calculated attempt to rewrite history. The turning point came when Gypsy boldly declared that she doesn't see herself as a murderer, a shocking statement given her conviction. This controversial remark has further alienated those who once stood firmly in her corner, leaving many questioning her authenticity and sincerity. What started as a tale of survival and justice has evolved into a polarizing saga of manipulation and mistrust.
Of an agnostic when it comes to Gypsy Rose Blanchard. I would say, it's double time right at the very beginning. I'll follow anybody that sends 1,000 or more. She did her time per the law. Like the law said, this is the amount of time that you need to do, and then she got out.
I don't disagree with you.
Yeah. But since she's been released, she's been lying, you're saying? Like, give me an example.
Well, she has inconsistencies with her medical history. What's out there in her medical records do not correlate with the stories she tells the public. So
what's something that she lied about, like, in the last 12 months?
Getting chemo.
She said she got chemo?
Yeah, that's why her teeth rotted.
And she never got chemo?
No. It's not nowhere in her medical records. She planned her mom's unaliving for 2 years before she actually did it. But that's not here or there. What I focus on is just wondering why society gives thousands of dollars and time and energy to a person that unalived her own mother.
The same. Oh, thank you, Alyssa. Probably for the same reason that when the Menendez brothers are released from prison, they'll be stars too.
Is Gypsy Rose Blanchard really sticking to the terms of her parole? Or is she cleverly finding ways to manipulate the system and avoid the consequences of her actions? Since her release, the public has been watching every move she makes, and it's becoming clear that her post-prison conduct is raising more than a few eyebrows. Gypsy's parole conditions explicitly prohibit any contact with her ex, Nick. But, according to reports, she's allegedly been trying to bypass these terms by sending him secret messages through a mutual friend. These harmless notes reportedly contain veiled references only Nick would understand, sparking outrage and casting serious doubts on her commitment to following the rules. But that's just the beginning. Sources suggest Gypsy's reach extends beyond Nick, as she's allegedly rekindling connections with former associates, putting her parole in even more jeopardy. And as if that wasn't enough, disturbing allegations of intimidation have surfaced. One report claims her friend showed up at a critic's workplace, attempting to silence them.
Gypsy's abuse is a cover-up for the scamming they were doing. Dee Dee doesn't deserve what happened to her. She just wanted to give her kid an okay life. Yeah, that's true. Now, I don't think that Dee Dee was the greatest woman in the world. I don't think that she was the best parent in the world. But Dee Dee did the best she could with the cards she was dealt. And she did good by Gypsy, in my opinion. But you see, Gypsy has a problem. I think Gypsy has a problem, and Dee Dee knew that she had some psychological issues. And so Dee Dee had to protect the world from Gypsy. Gypsy is dangerous, in my opinion. She is definitely a dangerous individual. And to sit there and make up lies to justify murdering your mother makes you even more dangerous, in my opinion.
Others allege her associates have waged online harassment campaigns, targeting anyone who dares to speak out against her. Despite these mounting violations, the question remains, has Gypsy really changed? Or is she simply using her parole as a cover to continue her manipulative behavior? The public isn't backing down. A petition on change.org has gained traction, with supporters compiling evidence of her repeated parole violations, including suspicious social media activity and even proximity to alcohol consumption. On the flip side, Gypsy continues to defend herself in interviews, notably on Life After Lockup, where she maintains a calm, composed front, brushing off the allegations as the work of online haters with personal vendettas. But with so much controversy surrounding her, one thing's for sure, Gypsy's parole might be under more scrutiny than ever before. But how is Gypsy Rose Blanchard getting away with parole violations? Despite mounting evidence, her post-prison life has sparked endless questions, leaving the public stunned and law enforcement frustrated. Is she just that good at evading consequences, or is there something deeper happening here? The mystery surrounding Gypsy's actions continues to grow, and the questions are piling up fast. While the public is demanding answers, her parole officers seem to be looking the other way.
It is my instructions have to be different than anyone else's, because to me, I'm just another average bear. And I guess I'm getting a huge culture shock. So I fulfilled my end of what my obligations are. I do not feel free right now. I feel like I am in a different form of prison.
What's going on behind closed doors? With each new revelation, it feels like Gypsy is managing to stay one step ahead of accountability, despite the increasing number of alleged parole violations. Could her parole officers simply be overlooking these claims? Or is there something more to this silence? It's almost as if the system itself is failing to keep up with her high-profile case. One theory is that Gypsy's smooth-talking and composed persona have convinced her parole officers to turn a blind eye. She might be framing her violations as nothing more than baseless rumors. By deflecting attention away from her actions and playing the victim, she's reportedly been able to sow doubt among those tasked with monitoring her behavior. It's a clever tactic, but is it enough to dodge the consequences? Then there's the possibility that the system is simply too overwhelmed to handle cases like hers effectively. Could it be that Gypsy's case is slipping through the cracks because parole officers are stretched too thin? With so many high-profile parolees, the strain on the system might be too much to properly investigate every claim, especially when public attention is divided. Meanwhile, the public is piecing together her every move. From questionable photos to cryptic social media activity, it's clear that people are paying attention and demanding transparency. Is this grassroots detective work enough to push authorities to act, or are they simply ignoring the growing mountain of evidence?
But she was a 23-year-old woman, fully knowing and fully participating in this, having no problem accepting those trips that are reserved usually for terminally ill children. And she's bragging about this, just like she did in her interrogation. You heard me correctly. She was bragging about all of these trips in her interrogation. But that's another video. I wanted to share this information because it's very important in describing the dynamic between Gypsy and Dee Dee and how complicit she was as an adult woman.
The public's role in this unfolding saga is undeniable, and it's raising the stakes for everyone involved. With so much attention on her, why does it feel like nothing is changing? Gypsy's case has sparked intrigue at every turn, but the lack of clarity and action only deepens the mystery. Is she truly slipping through the cracks, or is there a much bigger issue at play behind the scenes? What do you think is really going on? Are Gypsy's parole officers complicit, or has she outsmarted the system? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more updates on this developing story. We'll be following this case closely as it unfolds, so stay tuned for all the latest updates.